Life is
7 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001, and if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app. That can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, what are we buying that we can't or don't produce? And in second watch, digital ID, UK style. For our social media question, we ask, do Jamaicans really prefer foreign goods over local goods? Why? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on in the program, but first, as I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote says, "There's nothing simpler than avoiding people you don't like. Avoiding one's friends is the real test." This one is by Lady Grantham.
Very interesting, I quote. Good morning, Jacal.
Good morning.
The first watch. We'll be back after this break.
The Morning Watch today is sponsored by Bashko, the store that gives you more.
Buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low. Get it on a Bashko. Get it on a Bashko. Bashko. Be everything where you need. Bashko. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashko. Get it on a Bashko that gives you more. Yeah, Bashko. Get furniture for your house, linen, everything for your kitchen, rocks, cups, and more at Bashko. The store that gives you more. Bashko. Shake and go. Come on to a shake and go. Step on the field, have to increase the tempo. Come on to a shake and go. Flavors feel nice, nutrition for your lifestyle. Come on to a shake and go. The net we are kick. Schoolboy football season and keep. Come on to a shake and go. Try these delicious new flavors today. Chocolate, vanilla, peanut, and butter pecan. Come on to a shake and go. By your side, looking after life. We've been here for 25 years and we are guarding life. Just getting started, leading the way every day, protecting you and yours at every stage. Guarding life. Looking after life, caring for family, caring for you. Looking after life is what we do. For every generation, for every stage, your partner for 25 years. Guardian Life. Looking after life.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch. And Jamaica is spending 4 times more on imports than it earns from exports. That's the latest from Statin. What does this mean for our economy, our farmers, our manufacturers, and the pockets of everyday Jamaicans? Why do we depend so heavily on foreign goods? And what will it take for us to produce more, export more, and build a stronger, more balanced economy? How can Jamaica close the gap? Our guest for this segment, Joseph Cox, economist and strategic consultant, host, Caribbean Business Review CBR, and Rita Hilton, director and former owner and founder of Carita Jamaica Limited. Good morning,
Morning.
Rita.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Joseph Cox.
Morning.
First of all, why Jamaica, or why does Jamaica import significantly more than it exports? What is going on? Starting with you, Mr. Cox.
Well, it could well be a case of it's a matter of one, taste, in some respects. Two is consistency of supply. Three could be a matter of price. It's a combination of factors. Also, some cultural issues at play, because what we have been faced with over time is there's an element of cultural penetration. So if you notice, a number of the young people now, particularly very young people,
Like yourself,
they
Mr. Cox, young persons like yourself, sir.
yes, I will take it. I will take it.
Yes, sir. Yes.
They they gravitate more towards what we call the foreign brands, right? The fast food chains, etc., rather than looking at probably indigenous foods. And part of the thing that I've always suggested is that, for example, for generations now, for the newer generations, younger generations, we probably need to reintroduce them to the local foods, to the indigenous foods, to kind of build rebuild that taste for it. Because honestly, what we're looking at is really just a high propensity to import. People are the view that sometimes what is coming from overseas is somehow better than what we have here, and which is certainly, in my view, in most cases, certainly not the case. But the fact of life, you have to treat with those issues frontally, I would believe.
Or is it how some of the local items are packaged?
No, it's a matter of packaging as well. I mean, you have certain things that should be packaged properly and needs to be packaged properly. There's also issue of shelf life, etc., etc. I mean, one of the things I always use this example when speaking about this is when, for example, you're in England and you go into one of the major chains there, and you see, for example, oranges coming from, say, Jamaica or from the region, frankly speaking, and you look on the oranges, and the oranges will have some of the speckles have dirt on it, blah blah blah, and you look at the Spanish oranges that they are waxed and so on and so forth. They look nice and pretty, right? I mean, these are some of the things that sometimes influence how people look at your things, and we have to be careful. We're in a global market, and we have to ensure that what we're doing is not only timely and meets the quantity requirements, but we also ensure that the things are also visually appealing. So yes, in some respects, the packaging is absolutely critical.
Going to bring in Rita Hilton in a moment, but just before we do that, Mr. Cox, some persons would argue that the less that an item is waxed is the more natural and safe it
No,
is.
man, agreed. Absolutely agreed. But I'm not promoting that you wax fruit and so on. But what I'm saying to you is sometimes the visual appeal. All right. Look at it this way. You have things like yam here, right?
Yes.
But how many people realize that you can make a yam salad, but you can do it in a very attractive way that is visually appealing? You don't have to just boil the yam and slice it, and that's that. It's a matter of visual appeal. But certainly, I'm not promoting waxing fruit in any shape or form. But it's just a visual appeal. Now, I defer to people like Miss Symes here now, who I remember from many years back.
Well, Rita Hilton, good morning again.
Good morning. Good morning.
Why is Jamaica importing so much, and why do we import more than we export? And any comments on some of our major imports, said to include food, fuel, manufactured goods, and machinery? Rita Hilton.
Yeah. Good morning again to you and to your listeners. There are certain things that we have to import that we don't produce. Fuel is a big item. And I think that drives also the manufacturing sector and other sectors, the transportation sector. So logistics, all of these things become an expensive item or expensive cost of production. If you see what I mean, it is a big element in the cost of production. And if you look at that single item, Jamaica pays more per unit kilowatt hour than the rest of the Caribbean. Even the smaller islands in the Eastern Caribbean pay single digit per kilowatt hour. Ours is double digits. And that is a big factor in the cost of production. But, Joseph was talking about visual appeal. There is this um, reluctance amongst farmers to allow you to select your produce according to international standards. And so, they feel that if the produce is grown in a certain way, you must accept all of it. So, if you go and select your sweet potatoes, you cannot um, export potatoes which have worm tracks on them or wormholes or are below a certain size or above a certain size. For example, England will not take, the UK market will not take potatoes over 2 pounds. And the reason is, after all the costs that are involved in getting it to market, a consumer will not pay that very high price for a large potato, whereas they would be able to afford a smaller within the standard of the grade. So this we number one, we have to educate our farmers about standards, about food safety, about food security. So when Joseph is talking about visual appeal, you know um it is important that those tubers are handled properly from the field to the pack house, so the skin is not rubbed off. So when it arrives in the market, those white patches turn black. The potatoes are good inside, but the visual appeal mitigates again purchasing that. And somehow the way that they're exported from other countries in the Caribbean basin, they maintain the standards, they maintain the requirements of the global market. So what we also need in Jamaica is a secondary market. Joseph talked about a yam salad. Have you ever tasted a potato salad made with sweet potatoes, made with breadfruit?
Right.
You can use our foods in many different ways. And so we do have to educate our people. It's not only Irish potatoes, because when the local production is done, we now import huge amounts of potatoes from other countries. But when we can be using our local foods in a very exciting way, by using our talents, and we have many talented cooks. But the education has to start from the schools, from the kids having meals in school, to introduce them to vegetables, to introduce them to the value and the nutrition. You know that in my very rural part of Westmoreland, the children take the vegetables and throw them out. They only want chicken and rice. They don't want any other form of meal. So we have to start early to cultivate them, because when you get older, you're more aware of the nutritional value of foods and so on. Do we have to import? Of course we do, because we cannot produce all the items that are needed locally. But at the same time, we are not being able to satisfy the demand for our local foods. There's not enough production. And so if we export more, we will be able to afford to buy those items that we can produce in large amounts of. For example, wheat.
Before you go there, Rita Hilton, I'm seeing where we are now upon a break. If you can just hold that thought for a
Sure.
second, listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back
Sure.
on the Morning Watch. Very important discussion.
agency assists landowners to register their land under the Systematic Land Registration Program. Systematic Land Registration is the orderly and methodical way of registering land within a designated project area. For more info on whether your community is covered under the Systematic Land Registration Program, visit nla.gov.jm for a list of all the declared project areas or call 876-750-5263. The National Land Agency. One agency, one goal. To serve you better.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Habasco. For everything where you need. Bash quality service guaranteed on Habasco. Get it on Habasco that gives you more. Yeah, Habasco. Furniture for your house, linen, everything for your kitchen, rocks, hubs, and more at Habasco. The store that gives you more. Habasco.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, having a very interesting discussion with Joseph Cox and Rita Hilton. Joseph Cox, economist and strategic consultant, host Caribbean Business Review, CBR, and Rita Hilton, director and former owner and founder of Carita Jamaica Limited. The topic is, what are we buying that we can't or don't purchase? And just to add a little bit of background information to the conversation, it is being indicated, according to one of our news sources, that indeed Jamaica spent 4 times more on imports than it earned from exports during the 5-month period between January and May 2025, according to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. During the period, Jamaica's total spending on imports was valued at, here's the figure, United States, $3,161.5 million, while earning from total exports were valued at $773 million. So let me say it another way, using the billions of dollars in US dollar terms. $3.162 billion. Why were the imports for that period, whilst exports were valued at 773 million United States dollars. Rita Hilton, you're making some points just before the break. Please continue.
Yeah, I think, Stokely, what is very important here, there is not enough production in Jamaica. We have to have better yields from our lands. We have to have packaging that is more appealing in the global market. And we have to be able, right now, Carita cannot meet the demand that there is out there for peppers, for sweet potatoes, the things that we do well. Let us not go into other items, but the things that we do well, we could triple or quadruple our exports in the global market.
So what are the things you are saying that Jamaica does well? That you said sweet. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I said one are unique. These niche products that have a unique flavor.
Okay.
Produced on our microclimates, right? Okay. That when they are tried to be duplicated in other countries, do not produce the same effect.
You mean like coffee?
Coffee, yes. Blue coffee, even the Highland coffee. Yes. I'm talking, let's look at those niche products we do well. The sweet potatoes, the yellow yam. Yes. Are so many other items that we do well with. Avocados, breadfruit, all these things. We don't have orchards. Look at our mango crop. We have this wonderful market, amazing market in the US for Julie mangoes and East Indian mangoes. We have no orchards. And this this year, climate change decimated the crop and we had very strong winds. So the export of mangoes into that market, we didn't even do a fraction of what we did the previous year. So, there are no orchards, there are no large areas of production. The collection for export is a nightmare. and we have to have some centralized systems. So, is agriculture important? Can it be a sustainable, profitable business? Yes. Can it employ more people? Can it make money? Yes. But we need the support, the total support in every item, whether it is research, whether it is logistics, whether it's cold storage, removing the barriers to export, because the markets are there. We just don't have enough to export. We're always scrambling, cannot fill our containers. The other problem we have is because our agricultural production is so low, we do not have lift capacity to get to market our fresh perishable products. So these are some of the things we really need to work on if we are serious about making our economy more favorable, making exports more favorable, and the markets, as I say, are there. The potential is there. We need to get some serious work done, not lip service.
Joseph Cox, what about bauxite? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, bauxite, you can increase the volume, but I know from time to time they have all sorts of problems at the plants. So sometimes it becomes the output is not as consistent as it should be. But yes, that is a staple. But I want to take you back to the actual data. Because when you, for example, yes, you are absolutely right. If you do it, the ratio of imports to exports or exports to imports is 4 to 1 as at this point in time. But when you look at the breakdown of it, and I'm looking at the things now, it was driven by an increased exports of raw materials and intermediate goods. Now that is not really a bad thing, to be honest with you, because raw materials and intermediate goods mean that they're going towards production or should be going towards production and not necessarily straight to end market use. What would have given me greater comfort is if I had also seen a good increase in capital goods, which in terms of like machinery and so on,
Right.
which would
Yeah.
also be pointing to movement in it. It was also driven by a 7% increase in consumer goods. They have and the final category is fuels and lubricants, which was also up by 8.3%. Now, why I'm raising all of this is that and Mrs. Hilton is absolutely right. The our food production, our agricultural output is low. It's too low, and it's not consistent, to be frank with you. And that can be attributable to a number of causes. But one of the areas which is articulated, frankly, but one of the causes that is often overlooked in our market is the whole matter of climate change. Meaning now, and I'm looking specifically at the issue of the heat. Just understand that the hotter it is the lower the output. For example, even from your cattle, right? So these things do impact what you do, and your market demand remains the same, even locally, yes? So therefore, under those circumstances, you actually do need to import. So it's a balancing equation basically that you're faced with, because on the one hand, yes, you need to increase the production, and there are a number of issues there. And I must say that one of the issues that exporters complain about is the stripping of the containers. When people, you vacuum seal a container, somebody pull the seal out, they check in and going through and all sorts of things. What was a container suddenly becomes a container and a half or something like that. These things, they impact, they slow down the process, they create all sorts of challenges. So we also have to take those things into consideration. But eventually, what it really comes down to is how we organize our production. Do we have the people to do it? So, for example, and I can speak to this with heart. If you, for example, you're doing something like pimento, one of the biggest problems you have with pimento is not that there isn't a demand for it. There is significant demand for pimento, but pimento is a very vulnerable thing. It is a function of how you break the pimento, or you actually pick the pimento. Because if you do it like an amateur, you can actually damage the thing. It is subject, of course, to the vagaries of the weather and so on. But the bigger problem that you also face is after you reap the pimento, or to get people to reap the pimento is a huge problem, a very huge problem, right?
Explain.
People just don't want to do it.
Oh, it's like
They don't want to do it. I mean, you are hard pressed to find
it's
people to
considered
do
a
it.
menial task.
Yeah.
Well, may well be so, but if when you put out the pimento on the barbecue to dry, you better make sure you have proper security, because the same people will come and reap it up for you. This is part of the challenge, that we also need to take into consideration. This issue of predial larceny is no joke, and it does impact what our effective output is. So
Yeah.
these are some of the things that we have to also take into consideration. So if you notice, I'm saying climate change, predial larceny, how we organize our production, because we have to have the consistency of supply. And in some cases, now, frankly, with the heat that is going on, that is upon us all, frankly, we need to probably be looking more to some of these like greenhouse solutions and so on, because the heat that we are
The all
experiencing
inclusive style of agriculture.
yeah,
As you would
it
have
is
all inclusive hotels.
Mm.
well, that's what I mean.
Well, that heat fact really affecting production of peppers, for example. I know a pepper farmer was virtually wiped out because of the proliferation of mites on account of the intense heat that there's on. And Joseph mentioned something, this stripping of the containers. Do you know when a container is flagged by CET, the exporter has to pay $150,000 to CET to get that container stripped
In
and
what currency?
pardon?
In what currency?
Jamaican dollars. But $150,000 adds 1,000 US dollars to your cost of production. And
I
they
see.
damage the product in the process of examination. Now,
I
if you
see.
want to examine my container for drugs, you flag it. You pay the cost. Why am I paying the cost to break down that container for you to examine it? And
You pay the cost of regulation.
each of these entities want to maintain a fiefdom or a kingdom. You don't know, don't come into my territory to tell me what to do. And these are the barriers that exist to export. It's the exporter that bears all the expense of these issues, right? And as Joseph mentioned, the climate change factor is a very real one, right? The availability of water for production, and also using technology and the use of high yielding seeds and vines. All of this kind of research goes hand in hand to boosting our production and making us more export viable so that we can afford to bring in the things that we cannot grow, like wheat flour or rice or these kinds of things, where we can excel in our production.
We're almost out of time already. Never enough time on the morning watch. Mr. Cox, just before we go, sir, is there a final word you want to leave with us?
Well, yes, sure. We consistently encourage people to, or encourage our exporters, our producers to produce more. But we also have to take into consideration, which I can't cover this morning, obviously, the whole issue of non-tariff barriers. So, if, for example, somebody is sending pineapples, for argument's sake, to an external market, and the people insist that they cut off the crown, you know that the spoilage rate is going to be much, much higher. And this is just a reality, but these are some of the non-tariff barriers that people have to be looking at. So, but that's for another day. But all I can say is encourage persons to produce more and, frankly, reintroduce, as it were, take an active effort to reintroduce our indigenous foods to our population.
And Rita Hilton, I think you're nodding in agreement.
Yes, and I'm very passionate about Jamaica and the Jamaican foods. I just love the cuisine, and I'm always experimenting different ways. And I'm passionate about educating, especially our younger generation, in the value of our food, not KFC.
Indeed.
No comment. Rita,
Stokeley, you're
Miss
a man.
Hilton and Mr. Cox, I want to thank the both of you for your views this morning on the Morning Watch. Very interesting, very insightful.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
7:31 a.m.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. Bashco. Be everything where you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed and a Bashco. Get it on a store that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Get furniture for your house, then linen everything for your kitchen, rugs, mugs, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
See so you can make the par, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
We know you're making every dollar work harder, choosing carefully, buying what you need, and making it stretch as far as you can. That's why Grace is giving shoppers discounts on over 20 of your favorite Grace products when you cash out at participating supermarkets. It's our way of helping you sweeten moments together, share more meals, and take care of the people you love. Make a good move with 20% savings from Grace.
Recycling Partners of Jamaica. Yeah, we got to make a change, and we have to do it now, can't wait for later. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies and in the drains. Recycling Partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place. Well, I say no matter about your class or status or title, got to be responsible and recycle. Yes, we have talk about plastic buckle boat. You have to make sure say you're the right type to. So look for the triangle with the 1 or 2. But not no matter could a yellow or blue. You have to just make sure them empty, collect them plenty. Recycling revenue. So listen up, Jamaica. I'm saying it's time to make a change. Recycling Partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies in the every veins. Recycling Partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place.
Welcome back. You're tuned into the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, among the latest news online, Permanent Secretary urges early cybersecurity education in schools. Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Ambassador Dr. Rocky Mead, has called for the integration of cybersecurity education into Jamaica's school curriculum, beginning at the primary level. And we also have, among our latest news in the Gleaner, YouTube to pay US $24.5 million to settle lawsuit over Trump's account suspension after January 6th attack. That is YouTube to pay US $24.5 million to settle lawsuit over Trump's account suspension after January 6th attack. We have here in the Observer, lawsuit looming. Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, gets mandate to sue government over forced retirement. And we have here in the Observer as well, online, smiling while dying. Doctor urges more focus on signals sent by people contemplating suicide. This story by Lisa Dunkley Willis, and the doctor in question, who urges more focus on signals sent by people contemplating suicide, is Dr. Wayne West, who interestingly is to be one of our guests in the second watch, albeit on another topic. And it has a caption under a photograph here. There is such a thing as a smiling depression, says Dr. Wayne West. There is such a thing as a smiling depression, says Dr. Wayne West. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, do Jamaicans really prefer foreign goods over local goods? Why? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 1FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Let's get digital. TAJ is now issuing all motor vehicle registration certificates exclusively digital. You need an email address for the process, and instructions will be sent to you. No more stickers, no more paper. Choose your registration period of 6, 12, or now 24 months. Private motor vehicle operators can renew online, but for all other motor vehicles, you must visit a tax office. For more info, call 888-829-4357 or visit jamaicatax.gov.jm. TAJ, working together to serve you even better.
As a contractor, I never work without a plan.
As an electrician, protection is always a priority.
If you're a small business owner or an independent contractor, there's a plan that gives you protection and coverage. Sagicor Pro Shield. Get up to $1 million critical illness coverage and cover up to 80% of your medical costs for as little as $15,510 every 3 months. Get the protection you need with Sagicor Pro Shield. Call 876-936-7784. Conditions apply.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. 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 Be everything where you need. Bash quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. Get it on a store that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Get furniture for your house, and linen, everything for your kitchen, rugs, mugs, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now, for your responses to our social media question, do Jamaicans really prefer foreign goods or over local goods? Why? Jakar.
All right, Cherry in Spanish Town says, good morning. It's not a matter of preferring overseas products more. It's a matter of cost, savings, and stretching the dollar. Local products, in most cases, are more expensive, plus other elements. Which is very true. I agree with you, Cherry. But yes, that's what we have.
Thank you, sir. We move right into the second watch. Now, changing gears and going further afield, in Britain, the United Kingdom could soon be stepping into a new digital age. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is set to announce, well, in fact, it has already been announced, and that there be a national digital ID scheme, one that promises convenience and security, but also raises questions about privacy, government power, and personal freedom. Will digital IDs really make life easier or open the door to mass surveillance and even exclusion? Is there anything about digital IDs that in any way, shape, or form has any form of, parallel to or association with the type of legislation we have here in Jamaica now, that of the NIDS? We have as our guests this morning to take a look at this topic, Reverend Basil Hanson, founder and CEO, MTM TV, and he's also the first vice president of ACCM, Association of Christian Communicators and Media, and Dr. Wayne West, who is the chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. Dr. Wayne West, Reverend Hanson, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. You are very soft. I don't know if there's anything you can do about that.
My voice is very soft.
Yes, I'm hearing you, but you're very, very softly.
Oh, let us see if we can remedy that from the studio end, because hearing my own voice through the headset, I sound very loud. So let us see what we can do there. I don't know. We will try to make an adjustment on our end. I think it's being done as we speak. Reverend Hanson, are you with us, sir?
Yes, good morning, Stokeley, and good morning to your listeners and your viewers.
Good morning. Good morning.
Excellent
Good
having
morning,
the
Dr. West.
Yeah.
And Dr. West, switching gears slightly, we did read a news clip from the Jamaica Observer about smiling depression, suicide, and you are featured as a doctor who spoke to that. Very interesting, sir. But we're not going to be asking you about that this morning, but I'm mentioning that we read that news clip in the break, sir, before we came to this topic of digital IDs. Will digital IDs really make life easier or open the door to mass surveillance and exclusion? And first of all, what on earth are digital IDs? Dr. West, starting with you.
Well, digital IDs can make life easier because they can streamline, instead of having many different IDs like a driver's license and so on, you can have one ID which you can access using a computer system, some sort of a click. Basically, you can click and you have access to do many different things. All your health data, your data related to your banking, data related to what government service you need. So there's no question that there's the potential for making life easier, but it comes with a potential risk as well. So we can't deny the fact that the digital ID can make life simpler, faster. That potential is definitely there. But that's not the reason why people have concerns over them.
What is the reason then why people have concerns?
Well, this is it. You see, once you have information about an individual, whether that information is about your loans, your health, etc., it is possible for people to hack into it and get all that information and use it in different ways, which may compromise you. And secondly, also, if people can allow you to have access to goods and services provided by government or private sector, they can switch you off from access to that just as easily. So those are some of the concerns that people have.
Switch you off meaning how?
Well, let us say that your banking, for you to access a loan, for example, in a bank, you have access to your data pertaining to things like this thing in the United States that they use, your credit rating and so on. It is possible, for persons to hack into your credit rating, your information, and use your data to get loans. And next thing you go to get a loan, and it's gone because somebody has used your information in an illegal way. Those are just the realities of life, that you may find that your data you have been used to get a license for a car, for drive, for example, and it wasn't you at all, but somebody hacked into your data and used your information, and then they got into an accident or something. These are all theoretical constructs, but they are real, because once your information is out there, people can get into it, can hack into it, and use it to your detriment.
Reverend Hanson, your thoughts?
Well, whenever people want to control it, they use two things: convenience and security.
Hold that thought for a second, Reverend Hanson. Reverend Hanson, hold that thought for a second, because I'm seeing where we are already upon a break. But you said convenience and security are two excuses. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Grace is giving shoppers discounts on over 20 of your favorite Grace products when you cash out at participating supermarkets.
The time that Grace could move is
7:45 a.m.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch having a very interesting conversation with Reverend Basil Hanson and Dr. Wayne West on the topic of Digital ID UK Style. Reverend Basil Hanson, founder and CEO of MTM TV and first Vice President of the Association of Christian Communicators and Media, ACCM. Dr. Wayne West, Chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. Now, before you continue, Reverend Basil Hanson, I just want to make reference quickly to a publication online in the BBC. The topic is, what is the plan for digital IDs and will they be mandatory? This is published one day ago by Rachel Hagan. And among the things it reads, I won't go through it in its entirety. The government has announced plans to introduce a digital ID system across the UK, with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer saying it will ensure the country's borders are more secure. The IDs will not have to be carried day to day, but they will be compulsory for anyone wanting to work. The government says the scheme will be rolled out by the end of the Parliament, meaning before the next general election, which by law must be held no later than August of 2029. In terms of why is the government introducing digital IDs, the digital IDs will be used to prove a person's right to live and work in the UK. They will take the form of an app-based system stored on smartphones in a similar way to the NHS app or digital bank cards. Information on the holder's residency status, name, date of birth, nationality, and a photo will be included. Announcing the scheme, Sir Keir said, "You will not be able to work," and this is a quotation, by the way, so quote, open quote, "You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID, full stop." The next sentence, "It's as simple as that, full stop," unquote. The government says that this scheme is designed to curb illegal immigration by making it harder for people without status to find jobs. Ministers argue this is one of the key pull factors for migrants entering the UK illegally. Now, in terms of other parts of the world where there are similar schemes, it has been indicated that Estonia is one such country, Australia, Denmark, India, and other countries with using such schemes in one form or another. Might not be exactly the same or not so similar, but in some form or another, it includes, or they include, Singapore, Greece, France, Bosnia and Herzegovina, the United Arab Emirates, China, Costa Rica, South Korea, and Afghanistan. Just a bit of context there. Reverend Hanson, please, sir, continue.
Right. So I was saying, the globalist agenda always talk two things: security and convenience. But it's really, I don't think they should say convenience. I think they should say control. Because the playbook is a global playbook, Stokeley. The entire world will have to implement this playbook that is now being implemented in our neighbor, Britain, in UK. But one other thing that I like is that the Labour Minister exposed the real truth about what they are doing with the digital ID. And
you mean the Prime Minister? You mean the Prime Minister?
No, the Labour Minister, Darren Jones. He said that it is the bedrock of the society. Now, once he said that, it raised red flags because it was more for immigration and illegal immigration, protecting of the borders and all of that. That's how they sold it. But he came out and said that it is the bedrock of the society. So in other words, it's a changing of the society. And therefore, we have to be mindful that if the thing is a bedrock, it means everything is going to be changed. And you just read it. You can't work in UK if you don't have that digital ID. I mean, you shouldn't have to, if you are a citizen of a country, you should not need a digital ID to work and to live and to enjoy your country. That's nonsense. And so we have to be mindful of that. But it is not without pushback. There's millions of people pushing back in Britain, but some of these news outlets will not tell us that. There is a huge pushback against this in UK right now. Millions of people are saying no to this. And one of the things that we have to understand about what Darren Jones said, he says, if this thing work well and they get public support, so the public support is very important in a democracy. People allow what they want to prevail. If we don't want it to prevail, the people must get up and say so. And if the people don't want it, it cannot work. And that's simply what it is. I don't know how people sit down and allow security and convenience to enslave them again. Because security, I remember when we just started out with the debit card in Jamaica, and they would put limits on you and said that it is for your own security, just in case somebody get a hold of your information. They could probably clean out your account, but they never tell you that their system don't work well. It is always to protect you. So they put a limit, a cap on you. And so if you want $100 and their cap is 50, you have to go 2 days or 3 days to get that. That is how you start the enslavement of human beings, by telling them that I am protecting you. So we don't have no ability to help ourselves in a situation like that. We just have to believe that government is there to protect us. But it's really control and enslave us, because now you see when everybody is into digital banking, they are now implementing other things. I remember when we started out with the phone, the cell phone, you could have your prepaid cell phone and you could have your postpaid. The prepaid one, you could buy your credit and you keep it as long as you want. And it is there. Now, when everybody gets into the system, now they are saying you cannot keep your prepaid for more than a certain time. And they allotted the time that you can keep your prepaid for. No, isn't that part of the control system? It started out well enough. And that is one of the things that we have to look at.
Reverend Hanson, there's a disturbance on your line. I don't know if we can try to resolve it, but maybe what you can do to mitigate is to speak a little bit slower. Continue, Reverend Hanson.
Okay, but I'm saying that, we have to look at how control starts. It never starts by saying we're going to control you. But I made reference to some of the situation that I see with like my cell phone. I cannot keep my credit beyond a certain point because they said that you have to use it by that time. When they started out, when everybody was not in the pot, you could keep it for as long as you want. And so that is the same issue that we're going to have to deal with the digital world. As soon as the digital world engulf everybody, there are going to be all of these rules and regulations that you have to conform to and you have to follow. And if we don't follow them, we can't have service. If I take up my phone when the credit is expired, even though I have credit on it, I have to put more in order to activate it. I can't make a call. So those are some of the things that we're going to have to face. While it is security and convenient, and the truth is, Stokeley, anything that man made is not secure. There's no way you can secure my data that people can't get into it. People will find a way to get into it because it's people make it. And those who make it know how to get into it. So there's no security, in terms of our data. It will be hacked, people will have it, and the government will be able to control and survey us. We should never let it happen. The public support is important for anything that government wants to do. If we don't support the government, they can't do it. So those are my thoughts and what is happening right now.
I am seeing here a reference to, I'll read. I'm seeing here a question. Are there any similarities to Jamaica's NIDS? Dr. West? Reverend Hanson?
It is. There is a similarity. It's the same playbook.
What is the similarity?
It's the globalist agenda that must be implemented. And if you listen to the recent UN meeting that they just had, one of our Caribbean leaders went up there and she said, we need a reset. Mia Motley, she said, we need a reset. And that is really what it is about. We are going to surrender our freedom, our liberty to unelected bureaucrats. The UN, the WEF, and the WHO, they are the ones who are going to run the world if we allow them to.
You are making a prediction. You're making a prediction.
He's the only one that went there and rebuked the UN. Everybody else just fall in line. So I believe that's what is coming, Stokeley, where, our freedoms will be surrendered to the unelected people that we didn't elect to run our country. They are going to run it if we allow them to. We, the people, need to understand.
If I heard him correctly, if I heard President Trump recently at the United Nations I am sure he said something along the lines of a global digital system. He might not have been using the same words or the same wording, but would that amount to the same sort of thing, Reverend Hansen?
Well, as I said, it is a global push. It is the people, but notice they decide not to embrace the WHO. They have clearly said it. We are rejecting WHO and what they are proposing. So they are prepared to push back. But there are countries like the Caribbean that probably won't be able to push back because, the sanction and all the things that will come against us. We won't be able to survive. So the truth of the matter is, while we beat up our leaders, they really can't do much. They have to just conform unless they decide that they're really going to stand flat-footed and trust God, which not many of them decide to do. The world is in rebellion against God right now, Stokeley. There's a rebellion against God throughout the world. And this is what you get when you rebel against God. You are going to get man's authority, man's leadership. And we saw it in the Bible. When the people rebel against God's leadership, they get Saul. And they get what they wanted. So there's a rebellion going on right now.
Why I asked about NIDS is because, let me go to your answer. Your answer indicated you said what you said. But we here in Jamaica, we don't have digital identification. Well, not what the UK has, or plans, or has announced it will have. Any thoughts on that, Reverend Hansen?
Well, as I said, the NIDS is our government said the NIDS is voluntary. Is something that won't be forced upon us, but that's not true. It is going to get there as soon as everybody get involved. Or if we don't get involved, they'll use the institutions like the financial institutions and all these big institutions to do the dirty work, to try and use it against us. Because sometimes the government can't do it. So what they do is use like the banks and use all these other institutions to try and force us to do it. So it is going to get there. It's just that we, the people, must not support it. Or if we are going to support it, we said we want it hybrid. We want to do our business the way we used to, and you can have both. Why can't we have both? Why we have to kill one to build the other? We need a choice. Anytime people take away a choice, they are from Satan himself.
Reverend Hansen, I think Dr. West, I was trying to get a final word in from you, but I'm getting a signal here, sir. I think we're completely out of time. We might have to leave it there this morning. Although maybe we could squeeze 10 seconds. Dr. West, any final word you want to leave with us?
No, it's just that, like I said, there are advantages to the system, but as Bishop Hansen, because he just got a bishopric from a American institution, and I want to congratulate him on it.
I'm sorry, Bishop. Sorry about that, sir.
An American institution recognized his good work. I want to congratulate him on that. But the concerns that he raised are valid, and we have to accept that they are valid, and that we have to balance them with any benefits that could be derived from that system.
Now I'm literally upon the 8 o'clock signal. Thank you, gentlemen, Dr. Wayne West and Reverend Hansen, for being guests with us in this second watch. Thank you, viewers and listeners, for being with us. Join us tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to us by downloading our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. Join me tomorrow as we look at all the issues of the day. I am Stokeley. Marshall, hand you back Love in the Morning with Jokal.
Experience the art of living insurance with J&Life. The time is
just about 8:01 a.m. Thank you for listening to The Morning Watch. The Morning Watch was sponsored